What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. Whether you've been playing League for a long time or you're pretty new to it, chances are you've noticed a few of the items have names that seem to coincide with real people. We know that Riot have been naming their items after players as a part of their Refer a Friend program way back in the day, but when I personally looked into it a little bit further, I found that there's actually a huge number of items named after real life people that you actually might not necessarily expect. So it's pretty likely that there's quite a few out there that you guys might not instantly recognize. So today I wanted to talk about all of the items in League of Legends that are named after real people, who those people are, and maybe give a little bit of background to explain why they were honored in game. And just before we start, I wanted to announce that I'm doing a $500 RP giveaway in celebration of our new VR Chat YouTube channel. And it's super easy to enter. All you have to do is check the link in the description and check out our new channel and subscribe. Thanks and enjoy the video. Now, I actually decided to not include items that were named after rioters, since that ended up being a pretty boring list of just names and items without much background to it, but there's lots of others to talk about. And if you guys enjoyed the video, definitely leave a like on it, let us know in the comment section below, and be sure to subscribe for some more videos. Now, since the Refer a Friend items are probably the most well known to be named after people, we're gonna get those first out of the way. So for those of you who weren't around for this system way back in the day, it doesn't exist anymore, but essentially you were rewarded by Riot for referring friends to the game when they originally launched. Some of the rewards were IP boosts, enough RP for maybe a champion or a skin, but after reaching 1,000 referrals, players were promised to have one content element in the game named after them. Originally, Riot said this could be something like a map feature or a champion ability, but they pretty much all ended up being items. There were 7 people that unlocked the 1,000 referral reward before the system was changed by Riot, so we're gonna list those guys first. The first item we have is the Ohmwrecker, a kind of underused and underappreciated item that disables turrets and gives some resistances. You know, it was essentially designed to be a tank item that allowed players to tower dive more effectively. The name is derived from Ohmwrecker himself, who's a YouTube creator, also goes by the name of the Masked Gamer. Surprisingly, he actually didn't get most of those referrals through his YouTube videos. At the time, he was the editor-in-chief of Voodoo Extreme, which was an old gaming site that covered League pretty heavily back in the days, where at the time most sites were disregarding it. Voodoo Extreme managed to generate a lot of League of Legends referrals, which were of course credited to Ohmwrecker. Now, the next player to have a piece of content named after them was Grez, who originally had a Twisted Tree Line version of the Lizard Elder monster named after him called Grez, the Lizard Lord. After the Lizard Lord was removed from the game, Grez's name was repurposed and added to the old Twisted Tree Line item, Soulsight Lantern, which became Grez's Spectral Lantern in the process, which was essentially a Twisted Treeline version of the old Bloodrazor item. Grez was actually the very first player to ever gain that 1,000 referral mark, making him the very first player that Riot, of course, named a piece of content after. Athene's Unholy Grail's up next, named after the well-known World of Warcraft League of Legends player, Athene. It was originally designed to be an upgrade to the mana and magic resist item Chalice of Harmony, making it a bit more viable for the late game by giving it some offensive properties as well. The upgrade was codenamed Chalice of Discord before Riot decided to use it to honor Athene's achievement and contribution to the game's popularity. With those referrals, Athene himself smashed through that 1,000 referral mark, apparently ended up earning well over 5,000 referrals to League of Legends, which is pretty awesome and just shows how popular he was before League of Legends really took off. Now, one of the most meta-defining jungle items that was ever released to the game is up next, Wriggle's Lantern, probably better known as its upgraded form, Feral Flare. Wriggle's Lantern was essentially a Summoner's Rift counterpart to Grez's Spectral Lantern, offering attack speed and bonus damage to jungle monsters. After gaining 30 stacks through large monster kills, champion kills, or assists, it transformed into the Feral Flare, a terrifyingly powerful, super insane, just crazy OP on-hit item that gave insane damage, sustain, and attack speed to junglers. The item was named after Wriggle, another player that gained over 1,000 referrals, although the lantern aspect is lightly drawn from Wriggle Nightbug, a character from the pretty well-known Japanese bullet hell franchise, the Toho Project. Another one of the most long-standing items in the game, Maw of Malmortius, is another item that's actually named after a player. It was added in the first season of the game as an AD/magic resist item, and it's still around today, filling that very same role. It was named after a well-known community member from the early days of League of Legends who was actually somewhat infamous for his super high elo Poppy play. Malmortius managed to refer over 1,000 players, as with everyone else on the list of course, although unfortunately Poppy wasn't necessarily the best champion to take advantage of his item. He probably isn't complaining though, it was named after him 5 years ago, and it's still being used today. Now to throw a little bit of controversy into the mix, let's talk about the TotalBiscuit of Rejuvenation, a consumable item named after TotalBiscuit, the cynical Brit. Actually one of my biggest inspirations when I started on YouTube. As a widely known content creator, TotalBiscuit of course managed to generate a massive amount of traffic for Riot, reaching an insane 10,000 plus referred players in April 2012. At the time, the reward for reaching 10,000 referrals was an all expenses paid trip to Riot, where he'd get to go to design his own champion with the team. Unfortunately for Riot, they actually apparently never thought anyone would ever reach that amount of referrals. They thought it was just totally impossible, so the reward wasn't actually really serious, and there was a ton of drama and backlash in the community for a while. As a result, Riot did at least honor him with an item though, creating the TotalBiscuit item as a single-use item available through the Biscuiteer Mastery. TotalBiscuit originally wanted a top hat item to represent him, but the biscuit has been around a long time and arguably fits in the game a little bit more cleanly. The story does actually have a happy ending though. A few years later, in 2016, Riot reached out to TotalBiscuit to make good on their 4-year-old promise that they never followed up on of that all-expenses-paid trip to Riot to help design a champion. Now, since TotalBiscuit didn't really play League of Legends anymore and was not interested in making the trip for various reasons, TotalBiscuit instead donated the prize to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. A 17-year-old cystic fibrosis sufferer and amazing, wonderful gamer and just all-around incredible guy, Samuel, received the trip, traveling to Riot and designed Katarine, which he explained as basically being a bounty hunter from space. And we've actually made a video on Katarine way back in the day, talked a ton more about the story, so if you want to know about Samuel's story, definitely go check out that video. Now, during the alpha beta days of League of Legends, there was an attack speed item called Stark's Fervor that reduced the armor of nearby champions. During Season 1, the item was undergoing a redesign that would fundamentally change the role for that item, despite still using the same icon as Stark's Fervor. As a result, Riot decided to, of course, change the name as well. Around the same time, another player had managed to gather the 1,000 referrals required to have some content named after them. Now that person was Tim Buckley, who's a pretty well known as the creator of the gaming webcomic Control-Alt-Delete. In the webcomic, the main character Athene turned his original Xbox console into a sentient robot as a way to cope with his loneliness. The robot would later be named Ezekiel, or Zeke for short. As a reward for reaching the 1,000 referral goal, Riot named the new item Zeke's Herald, as a nod to Tim Buckley's webcomic. The item would later go on to be turned into Zeke's Harbinger in Season 5, then once more converted into Zeke's Convergence in Season 7, which is essentially unrecognizable now when compared to the original item of Stark's Fervor. Now, the final players to have items named after them before the removal of the original Refer a Friend system were players named Wooglet and Van Dam, the admin of a Russian League of Legends fan site. Riot chose to honor them with Wooglet's Witch Cap and Lord Van Dam's Pillager as Twisted Treeline variations of Rabadon's Death Cap and Infinity Edge. Witch Cap went on to be modified as a combination between Zhonya's Hourglass and the Death Cap, whereas Lord Van Dam's Pillager was actually removed from Twisted Treeline before being brought back a patch later after a little bit of a rework. At this point in the timeline of the League of Legends development, Riot had replaced the Refer a Friend system with a different alternative that didn't have them giving out such lucrative prizes. However, that didn't actually mark the end of items being named after players though, as despite changing the system, a few players had achieved 1,000 referral milestones without receiving their rewards. These items included Luden's Echo and Bami's Cinder, named after what was assumed to be community members that simply just never received their items until much later down in the road. Another one was Sterak's Gauge, named after the Czech YouTuber Sterak Dairy, although the new system had been released at this point. Sterak Dairy had been using the original system when he got his referrals, so Riot chose to award him with the original prize. To my knowledge, that's all the Refer a Friend items currently in the game today, but if I missed any, definitely let us know in the comment section below. Now, the other items I wanted to cover today are named after a few different people. Manamune, or Muramana as the transformed version is known, actually takes its name from the legendary Japanese swordsmith Masamune, who is widely regarded as the greatest Japanese swordsmith to ever live. There's also Leandri's Torment, who's named after the leader of the unofficial Russian client development team. And our last item for today is Lord Dominic's Regards, who is known as the community lead and moderator of a CIS fan site, although we'd love a source for that if anyone maybe knows a little bit more about that one. Now, there's actually a lot of in-game items that we didn't talk about today that do sound like they could be potentially named after real people, but a lot of them are actually just named after characters from League of Legends lore, or perhaps other games, or maybe inspiration from urban legends or myths or stuff like that. And of course, there's also a ton of items named after rioters, but those are just really not that exciting to talk about. Although we did a ton of research to bring this list together for you guys, it is definitely possible, though, that I did miss quite a few. So if you know of any other items that were not named after rioters, definitely let us know in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe if you want, and I'll see you guys next time.